Today's class in Business Studies, we learned about calculating people's wages. The first type of wage we need to learn about is a basic wage. Now, a basic wage is the amount of money that a person earns for working their normal hours in a week. Most people would work maybe 39, 40 hours in a week, and they get a standard hourly rate for working those hours. So for example, here, the basic wage is a regular weekly payment for normal hours worked, and that is €10 for 40 hours, which would be €400. Sometimes people might work more than the basic 40 hours. If they do that, that's called overtime. Overtime is an additional payment for working over and above your normal hours. If your basic week working wage is €10 per hour, for overtime you will get paid more. Perhaps you will get paid time and a half, which is 10 multiplied by 1.5, which is 15. Another way of understanding that is you get half of 10, which of course is 5, and you add that on top of the 10 to get your 15. You might also get paid double time, which is twice as much. 10 by 2 is €20 per hour. Or you might get paid treble time, which is €30 per hour in this example. Your gross wage is your basic wage before your basic wage plus overtime added on. So the wages you get for your normal working week plus any extra hours that you work. This is before any deductions take place. Later we're going to learn about deductions such as taxes, but for the time being we're going to talk about our gross wage. How to calculate a gross wage? Well, here is an example. So let's say Mary receives €10 per hour for her normal 40-hour week. And then for any overtime, she's going to get time and a half. So her normal working week is 40 hours. Her normal wages is €10 per hour, but she will get time and a half if she works beyond that. How much does she earn for a 46-hour week? Now, I'm going to show you how to set this out in a calculation. Some people might be able to do that calculation in their head, but I'd prefer if we wrote it out nice and clearly and structured so that it's always the same. So, the following is how you answer this question. You first off calculate her basic pay. Now, Mary's basic pay was 40 hours by €10, which when we multiply that out is €400. Now, what was her overtime? Well, remember, didn't she work 46 hours? So therefore, how many hours extra did she work? 6. And what rate is she being paid for that overtime? Time and a half. Now, what is our €10 wage at time and a half? Well, 10 multiplied by 1.5, or if you just did it in your head, half of 10 on top of 10, either way, you're going to get 15. So the overtime, here's the tricky bit, the overtime is the 6 extra hours at the new overtime rate of 15. And when you multiply 6 by 15, you get 90. And then it's important that you have the 400 and the 90 directly under each other so that we can then add that up to get our gross wage of 490. That is the answer. That is the gross wage calculated. And that is the structure that I would like you to do all of your calculations with. Now, it's time for you to practice some of these on your own. Let's look at this question here. So, Pretend there's a company called Robertson Limited, and they employ their staff for a basic week of 40 hours. They pay overtime of time and a half for any extra hours worked. So that's the exact same rules as our friend Mary. Standard working week is 40 hours. If they work beyond that, they get time and a half for the hours that extra that they worked. Calculate the following employees' gross wages. Now I'm going to get you to try to do these 4 calculations, but let's look at the first one and talk about it. So here's Lucy. Lucy earns €12 per hour. She worked 48 hours. So therefore, her basic, and you guys need to write this into your copybook, her basic wage is going to be just the 40 hours by 12, and we'll multiply that out. But then her overtime underneath that is going to be the extra 8 hours by time and a half 12. What is time and a half 12? I think you're going to find that that's 18. When you multiply the 40 by 12, and underneath you multiply the 8 by 18, you'll get 2 numbers, and when you add those numbers together, that is your gross pay, or your gross wage. I'd like you to try this question in your copybooks, following on from the example of Mary and what I've explained. And you can do that for Lucy, for Ben, for Damien, and for Alison. And we'll correct these next week in class when you come back in. Thank you.